The morning sun cast long shadows across the crystal domes of Kepler Colony. Vexmore stood at the observation deck, watching his people begin another peaceful day. The Zephyrians moved gracefully between the biodomes, their blue skin catching the light like living glass. Children played in the garden spaces while adults tended to the mineral extractors that had fed their civilization for 300 years. Vexmore had been colony leader for 20 years. In all that time, they had never faced a real threat. The galaxy was vast and most species left the quiet mining world alone. The Zephyrians preferred it that way. They were builders, not fighters. Their entire culture was built around harmony and cooperation. That morning changed everything. The alarm started as a low hum through the colony's communication system. Kira, the chief scientist, appeared on every screen throughout the settlement. Her usually calm face showed pure terror. "Leader Vexmore, please come to the communication center immediately," she said. "We have ships approaching. Many ships." Vexmore hurried through the connecting tunnels between domes. Other Zephyrians stopped their work to watch him pass. Word was already spreading. Children pressed their faces against the dome walls, pointing at the dark spots growing larger in the sky. The communication center buzzed with activity. Kira met Vexmore at the door, her hands shaking as she handed him a data pad. 47 ships, she said. "All military. They came out of hyperspace an hour ago and they are heading straight for us." Vexmore looked at the readings. The ships were massive, each one 3 times larger than anything in their small defensive fleet. "Have they responded to our communications?" "Yes," Kira said quietly. "They want to speak with you directly." The main screen flickered to life. A huge reptilian face appeared, covered in dark green scales. Red eyes stared down at them with cold intelligence. When the creature spoke, its voice was like grinding stone. "I am Commander Zektal of the Drakari Imperial Fleet," the alien said. "You will surrender your colony immediately. You have 72 hours to evacuate all personnel from this world." Vexmore stepped forward. "Commander, we are a peaceful mining colony. We have done nothing to threaten your people. Why do you want our world?" Zektal's lips pulled back, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Your world contains rare minerals we require. Your presence here is inconvenient. You may leave alive or you may become part of the minerals we extract. The choice is yours." "And if we refuse to leave?" "Then in 72 hours we will begin orbital bombardment. Every dome, every structure, every living thing on this planet will be destroyed. Choose wisely, Zephyrian." The screen went dark. Silence filled the communications center. 12,000 people lived on Kepler Colony. 3 generations had been born here. This was their home, their entire world. Where could they possibly go? "Can we fight them?" Vexmore asked. The colony's security chief, Nexvor, shook his head sadly. "We have 6 patrol ships and maybe 200 security officers. They have 47 warships. It would not even be a battle." "What about the Galactic Council? Surely they would help us." Kira was already working at her console. "I am sending a distress call now. But leader, the council moves slowly. Even if they decide to help, it could take weeks for a response fleet to reach us. We do not have weeks. We have less than 3 days. For the next 6 hours, they tried everything." Kira sent messages to every government, every military force, every trading company within 100 light years. The responses came back quickly and they were all the same. The Galactic Council would consider the matter at their next session in 2 weeks. The Andromedan Republic sent their sympathies but could not spare any ships. The Proxima Alliance called the situation regrettable but unavoidable. Even the merchant guilds who had traded with the colony for decades suddenly found reasons why they could not help. As night fell over the colony, Vexmore gathered the population in the main assembly dome. 12,000 faces looked up at him, waiting for hope he could not give. "My people," he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the dome. "We face a choice no civilization should have to make. The Drakari demand we abandon our home. If we stay, they will destroy us all." A mother in the crowd stood up, holding her young daughter. "Where can we go?" This is our home. Our children were born here. I know, Vexmore said. I was born here, too. My parents are buried in our memorial garden, but we cannot fight 47 warships with 6 patrol boats. An old Zephyrian near the front raised his hand. What about evacuation? Can we save everyone? Lumkira stepped forward with the painful math. Our transport ships can carry maybe 3,000 people at most. It would take 5 trips to evacuate everyone, and we only have time for one. The dome fell silent. Parents pulled their children closer. The weight of impossible choices settled over them all. There must be something, Vexmore said desperately. Someone who will help. Someone who believes that innocent people should not die for the greed of others. Lumkira looked at her instruments. Leader, there is one more thing we can try. Our quantum transmitter has enough power for one massive broadcast. We could send a distress call across 17 different frequencies, reaching every communication station within 100 light years. We already tried that. No one answered. This would be different. Not a formal diplomatic request, but a direct plea for help, a simple message that anyone could understand. Vexmore looked out at his people, families huddled together in the growing darkness. Children who had never known fear now clung to their parents. These were good people who had hurt no one, built a peaceful life, raised their families in harmony. Do it, he said. They worked through the night. Lumkira channeled all available power to the quantum transmitter. The message they crafted was simple, desperate, and heartbreakingly honest. This is Kepler Colony calling anyone who can hear this message. We are 12,000 civilians facing destruction by a military force we cannot resist. We have done nothing wrong except exist on a world others want. We are not soldiers. We are not warriors. We are farmers and miners and teachers and parents. We have children here. Please, if there is anyone listening, anyone who believes that innocent people should not die, we need help. We are dying. Please, someone help us. The message went out on 17 frequencies, racing across space at the speed of light. Most species heard it and deleted it. Just another plea from another dying world. The galaxy was full of such messages. But 93 light-years away on a small blue planet called Earth, Sergeant Lisa Martinez was working the night shift at NORAD Communication Center. She had been monitoring deep space frequencies for 2 years and had never heard anything interesting until now. She listened to the alien message 3 times before calling her supervisor. General Peter Kane arrived within an hour, followed quickly by advisors from every branch of government. By dawn, the message had reached the President of the United States. On Kepler Colony, as the second day began, Vexmore stood again at his observation deck. The Drakari ships hung in orbit like dark stars, waiting. His people prepared for evacuation, or death, not knowing that somewhere in the vast darkness of space someone had actually heard their cry for help. Someone was coming. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system, just as the first explosions lit up the planet's surface. Admiral Jack Foster stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the tactical display with growing anger. The Drakari had started their bombardment early. How many ships? Foster asked. Commander Amy Rodriguez checked her sensors. 47 Drakari vessels, sir, all heavy cruisers or larger. They have us outnumbered almost 4-1. Foster looked at his own fleet. 13 human ships, the best Earth could spare on short notice. The newest and most advanced vessels in the human navy, but still smaller and less armed than the alien warships currently destroying an innocent world. Sir, Captain Ryan Murphy called from the escort destroyer UES Ranger. Maybe we should wait for backup. The odds are not good. Foster had been a naval officer for 30 years. He had fought pirates and rebels, defended Earth's colonies, and commanded fleets in war games. But he had never faced anything like this. Everything he had learned about tactics said this was suicide. Admiral, Rodriguez said quietly, the colony is broadcasting again. They are trying to evacuate civilians. Foster listened to the transmission, alien voices desperate and afraid calling for help that they thought would never come. Children crying in the background. The sound of explosions getting closer. All ships, Foster said into his comm. Battle Formation Delta. We did not come this far to turn around now. The human fleet moved forward. 13 ships against 47. Every captain knew the math. Every crew member understood they were probably flying to their deaths, but they also knew that people were dying down on that planet, and no one else was coming to help. The Drakari noticed them first. Commander Zektal appeared on the communication screen, his reptilian face showing surprise and amusement. "Humans," he said. "I have heard of your species. You are new to space travel, yes? Young and foolish. Turn around now and I will let you live. This world belongs to the Drakari Empire." Foster stepped forward. "Commander, you are attacking innocent civilians. Withdraw your forces immediately." Zektal laughed, a sound like grinding metal. 13 ships against 47. Even for humans, this is stupid. You will all die here. "Maybe," Foster said. "But we will die trying to do the right thing. Can you say the same?" The Drakari commander's expression changed. "You dare threaten the Imperial fleet? I am not threatening you. I am promising you. Leave this system now or we will make you leave." Zektal cut the transmission. Within minutes, the Drakari fleet was moving to intercept the humans. The battle began badly for the human fleet. The 8 Drakari ships were bigger, with stronger shields and more powerful weapons. The first exchange of fire damaged 3 human vessels and destroyed none of the alien ships. "Shields down to 60%, Rodriguez reported. "The Ranger is taking heavy damage." Foster watched the tactical display. Traditional naval tactics would not work here. The Drakari had every advantage except one. They expected the humans to fight like every other species in the galaxy. "All ships," Foster ordered. "Scatter formation. Use the asteroids for cover. Make them chase us." The human fleet broke apart, each ship heading in a different direction. The Drakari followed, but their larger ships could not maneuver as quickly in the asteroid field. Human vessels darted between the rocks, leading their pursuers into traps. Captain Nick Torres, commanding the supply ship UES Providence, came up with the first innovation. "Admiral, I am loading cargo containers with explosives. If I can get close enough to that cruiser—" "Do it," Foster said. Torres piloted his ship directly at a Drakari cruiser, ejecting explosive containers like mines. The alien ship tried to avoid them, but the containers detonated in a chain reaction that collapsed the cruiser's shields entirely. "All ships," Foster broadcast. "You saw that. Use everything you have. Turn supplies into weapons. Use the asteroids as cover. Make them work for every shot." The tide of battle began to shift. Lieutenant Colonel Steve Barnes led a fighter squadron in a desperate attack on the Drakari flagship. Half his pilots died in the assault, but they managed to damage the ship's main weapon systems. Engineer Chief Dan Walsh discovered something important about human plasma weapons. "Sir, if we overload the power systems, we can triple the weapon output. It will burn out the guns after one shot, but that one shot will punch through their shields." "Do it on my mark," Foster ordered. The human ships coordinated their attack. All 13 vessels fired at once, their overloaded weapons creating a devastating barrage. 5 Drakari ships were destroyed in the first volley, but now the human fleet had no main weapons left. "Sir," Rodriguez said urgently, "the remaining Drakari ships are regrouping. We are down to defensive weapons only." Foster looked at the tactical display. 32 enemy ships were still active and the human fleet was nearly defenseless. They had fought bravely, but the math was catching up with them. Then Commander Helen Price made a discovery that changed everything. "Admiral, I have been analyzing the Drakari shield frequencies. Their technology has a weakness. If we broadcast on a specific frequency, their shields will overload and collapse." Dr. Paul Carter, the fleet's scientist, worked frantically to confirm the theory. "It should work, sir, but we need to coordinate all our ships to broadcast at exactly the same time." Foster did not hesitate. "All ships, prepare to broadcast on frequency 7.23 terahertz. On my mark." The human fleet, battered and outgunned, made one final coordinated effort. Every ship broadcast the shield-disrupting frequency at the same moment. The effect was immediate and devastating. Every Drakari ship in the system suddenly found itself without shields. The mighty Imperial fleet, which had seemed invincible minutes before, was now completely vulnerable. All ships, Foster ordered, attack Pattern Omega. Target their weapon systems first. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Human ships, smaller and faster than their enemies, darted between the defenseless Drakari vessels. Every shot counted now, and human gunners made every shot count. Commander Zektal tried to contact Foster again. "Human Admiral, I request a temporary ceasefire to discuss terms." "The only terms are unconditional surrender," Foster replied. "You came here to kill innocents. Now you face the consequences." The battle ended with the complete destruction or surrender of the Drakari fleet. Not a single human ship was lost, though several were heavily damaged. As the last enemy vessel powered down its weapons, the human fleet began rescue operations on the planet below. Vexmore stood in the ruins of his communications center, watching human shuttles land throughout the colony. The blue-skinned alien leader had never seen humans before, but he recognized courage when he saw it. "They actually came," he said to Lumkira. "When everyone else turned away, they actually came." The first human to reach the colony was Captain Ryan Murphy. He found Vexmore helping evacuate injured civilians from a damaged dome. "Sir," Murphy said through his translator, "I am Captain Murphy of the Earth Fleet. We are here to help." Vexmore looked at the human officer. Murphy was young, probably younger than many of the Zephyrians he had saved. His uniform was torn and dirty from the battle, but his eyes were kind. "Why?" Vexmore asked. "Why did you come? You do not know us." "We have nothing to offer you," Murphy smiled. "Because you asked for help. Where we come from, when someone asks for help, you help them. It is that simple." Word of the battle spread quickly through the galaxy. For the first time in galactic history, a species had traveled across space to help complete strangers. The human fleet had faced impossible odds and won, not for territory or resources, but simply because it was the right thing to do. In the halls of the Galactic Council, in the parliaments of a dozen worlds, in the command centers of every major fleet, the same question was being asked. Who were these humans, and what did their actions mean for the galaxy? The age of human isolation was over. The age of human responsibility had begun. 6 months after the Battle of Kepler Colony, the galaxy had changed in ways no one expected. Ambassador Linda Shaw walked through the gleaming halls of the Galactic Council on Nexus Prime, feeling the eyes of dozens of alien species following her every move. She was the first human ever to address the council, and everyone wanted to see what these newcomers would say. The council chamber was enormous, with representatives from over 200 worlds arranged in curved tiers that rose toward a crystal dome ceiling. Shaw had practiced her speech for weeks, but standing here now, surrounded by beings she had only seen in photographs, she felt very small and very human. Chancellor Vorth of the Centauri Federation called the session to order. His blue skin and multiple arms marked him as one of the oldest species in the galaxy. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of centuries. "We gathered today to discuss the actions of the species called humans," Vorth announced. "Their intervention at Kepler Colony has raised questions about galactic law and the sovereignty of member worlds." Shaw stepped forward to the speaker's platform. The chamber fell silent. 200 alien faces looked down at her, some curious, some hostile, some afraid. "Honored representatives," Shaw began. "My name is Linda Shaw, and I speak for the people of Earth. We did not come to your galaxy seeking conflict or territory. We came because we heard a cry for help, and we could not ignore it." A representative from the Drakari Empire stood up, his reptilian form towering over the other delegates. "The humans attacked an Imperial fleet without provocation. They interfered in matters that were none of their concern." Shaw looked directly at the Drakari speaker. 12,000 innocent civilians were about to be murdered. If that is not our concern, then what kind of galaxy have we joined? Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some species nodded in agreement, while others looked uncomfortable. The question Shaw had asked was simple, but it challenged everything the galaxy had. accepted for thousands of years. Dr. Frank Wilson, Earth's chief diplomatic advisor, watched the proceedings from the human embassy. The building was small compared to the massive structures housing older civilizations, but it buzzed with activity. Messages poured in from across the galaxy, some praising human actions, others condemning them. The Rigel system just sent another request for help, Wilson's aide reported. Their mining colonies are being attacked by pirates and the local government cannot protect them. Wilson rubbed his tired eyes. Since Kepler, requests for human assistance arrived daily. Oppressed populations, threatened colonies, and desperate governments all wanted the humans to solve their problems. Earth simply did not have the resources to help everyone. "What does Admiral Foster recommend?" Wilson asked. "The Admiral says his fleet can handle maybe 3 operations at once. We have received over 50 requests this month." Back on Earth, President Harrison Webb faced similar pressures. His military advisors, led by General Patricia Davis, warned that humanity was making enemies faster than it could handle them. "Mr. President," General Davis said during their morning briefing, "the Drakari Empire has declared us a hostile species. 3 other military powers have formed what they call the Human Containment Alliance. They see our intervention policy as a direct threat to their expansion plans." Webb looked at the intelligence report spread across his desk. The galaxy was dividing into 2 camps, those who supported human actions and those who opposed them. It reminded him of the old Cold War, but with dozens of sides instead of just 2. "What about our allies?" Webb asked. "Growing stronger every day, sir. The Zephyrians have rebuilt their colony with our help and they are sharing their crystal technology with us. The Rigel Republic has offered to host human bases in their territory. Even some council species are quietly supporting us. On the frontier, human ships responded to crisis after crisis. Captain Tony Miller commanded the UES Horizon, one of the new rapid response vessels designed specifically for humanitarian missions. His ship had just arrived at Tau Ceti, where a mysterious plague was killing thousands of people daily. Dr. Maria Santos, the fleet's chief medical officer, worked in a makeshift laboratory on the planet's surface. The local species, called the geek, Cetians were dying faster than their hospitals could treat them. Their blue-scaled bodies were covered in painful lesions that seemed to resist every treatment. "Any progress, doctor?" Miller asked during his daily visit to the medical facility. Santos looked up from her microscope, exhaustion clear on her face. "The plague is artificial, Captain. Someone created this disease deliberately. It targets specific genetic markers, found only in Cetian DNA. Biological warfare? Has to be. But who would do this? The Cetians are peaceful traders. They have no enemies that we know of." Lieutenant Jake Thompson, the ship's supply officer, coordinated relief efforts from orbit. Food, medicine, and clean water flowed down to the planet, while infected civilians were evacuated to the human hospital ship. It was exhausting work, but Thompson had volunteered for humanitarian duty after hearing about Kepler Colony. "Captain," Thompson reported, "we have treated over 15,000 patients so far, but the plague is spreading faster than we can contain it." Miller made a difficult decision. "Contact Earth Command. Tell them we need the entire medical fleet here immediately, and ask Dr. Santos if she needs anything else." Santos worked 18-hour days for 2 weeks before she found the answer. The plague was not just artificial, it was specifically designed to be incurable by Cetian medicine. But human medical technology approached the problem differently, and that made all the difference. "I have it," Santos announced over the ship's communication system. "The cure requires a combination of human antiviral drugs and Cetian immune boosters. Neither species could have solved this alone." The cure worked. Within a month, the Tau Ceti plague was completely eliminated. The grateful Cetians offered to share their advanced trading networks with humanity, opening new markets and opportunities across the galaxy. But success brought new challenges. The Human Containment Alliance grew stronger and more aggressive. War Marshal Throg of the Drakari Empire made speeches calling humanity a galactic infection that needed to be destroyed before it spread further. Ambassador Shaw found herself at the center of increasingly tense negotiations. The Galactic Council was splitting apart as species chose sides. Some admired humanity's moral courage, while others feared that human intervention would destroy the established order. Ambassador, Chancellor Vorth said during a private meeting, "Your species has changed the galaxy in just 6 months. Some call it evolution, others call it revolution. Which do you think it is?" Shaw considered the question carefully. "Chancellor, we did not set out to change anything. We just believed that when innocent people are dying, someone should try to help them. And if that belief destroys the peace we have maintained for centuries, then maybe it was not really peace," Shaw replied. "Maybe it was just everyone agreeing to look the other way when terrible things happened." The conversation was interrupted by an urgent message from Earth. Dr. Wilson burst into the room, his face pale with shock. "Ambassador, we just received a priority transmission from the Andromedan Republic. They are requesting immediate human assistance with a planetary-scale emergency. Their entire civilization is threatened." Shaw stared at Wilson in disbelief. The Andromedans were one of the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. They had never asked anyone for help in their entire recorded history. "What kind of emergency?" she asked. "A quantum plague, artificially created by unknown terrorists. Their scientists estimate they have less than 3 months before their entire species goes extinct." Chancellor Vorth listened to this exchange with growing concern. If the Andromedans were asking humans for help, the galaxy was changing even faster than anyone had realized. Shaw stood up, her decision already made. "Dr. Wilson, contact Admiral Foster immediately. Tell him to prepare the medical fleet for departure to Andromedan space." "Ambassador," Vorth warned, "if you help the Andromedans, you will make the Human Containment Alliance even more desperate. They may decide to attack Earth directly, rather than wait for you to grow stronger." Shaw looked at the Chancellor with the same determination that had sent human ships to Kepler Colony 6 months earlier. "Chancellor, if someone asks for help, we help them, even if it costs us everything." Outside the embassy, human ships prepared for another impossible mission while across the galaxy, the forces gathering against them grew stronger and more determined. The question was no longer whether humans would continue to help others, but whether they would survive long enough to make a difference. 2 years after Kepler Colony, the human fleet arrived at Andromeda Prime to find one of the galaxy's greatest civilizations dying. Admiral Susan Clark stood on the bridge of the UES Guardian, watching the once mighty Andromedan cities go dark, one by one. The quantum plague had spread faster than anyone predicted. Dr. Gary Johnson led the human medical team down to the planet's surface. The Andromedans were tall, graceful beings with silver skin and large eyes that had seen the galaxy grow from primitive worlds to a vast civilization. Now those same eyes showed fear and desperation. "Human doctor," the Andromedan science minister greeted Johnson. "I am Vel Andra. We have worked for 60 days without rest, but we cannot stop this plague. Our greatest minds are dying faster than we can replace them." Johnson looked at the medical readings. The quantum plague attacked at the cellular level, breaking down the victim's DNA structure in ways that Andromedan science could not reverse. But human medical technology approached problems differently. "Minister, we will need to work together. Our species think about biology in different ways. Maybe together we can find what neither of us can find alone." For 3 weeks, human and Andromedan scientists worked side by side. Dr. Amy Lewis, the human chief science officer, coordinated between teams that had never collaborated before. The cultural differences were enormous, but the shared goal of saving lives brought them together. The breakthrough came when a young human researcher named Dr. Jenny Chen suggested combining human quantum therapy with Andromedan cellular reconstruction. The idea was so simple that both species had overlooked it. "It works," Johnson announced to the combined medical team. "The treatment requires both human and Andromedan technology. Neither species could have solved this alone." Within 6 weeks, the quantum plague was eliminated. The Andromedans, grateful beyond words, offered to share their advanced star drive technology with humanity. But the celebration was cut short by urgent messages from Earth. War Marshal Throg had convinced the Human Containment Alliance to launch a coordinated attack on 3 human colonies simultaneously. The message was clear. Humanity would pay for helping others. Admiral Jack Foster, now Supreme Commander of Human Defense Forces, received the attack reports aboard the UES Defiance II. New Geneva Colony was under siege. The mining station at Wolf 359 was surrounded. Even the research outpost at Proxima Centauri faced enemy warships. "How many ships are we facing?" Foster asked his tactical officer. "Over 400 enemy vessels, sir. They have split their forces to attack all 3 targets at once. We cannot defend everywhere." Foster studied the tactical display. The Human Containment Alliance had learned from the Battle of Kepler. Instead of facing human forces in a single engagement, they were forcing humanity to spread its defenses thin. Captain Alex Robinson commanded the experimental stealth frigate UES Shadow. His ship could slip past enemy sensors and gather intelligence that larger vessels could not obtain. Robinson volunteered for the most dangerous mission, penetrating enemy lines to find the Alliance command ship. "Sir," Robinson reported from deep in enemy territory, "I have found their command vessel. War Marshal Throg is coordinating the entire attack from a massive dreadnought at the center of their formation." Foster made a command decision that would determine humanity's fate. Instead of defending passively, he would strike at the heart of the enemy force. "All available ships form up on my position. We are going to end this war today." The human fleet that assembled was larger than anyone expected. Ships from every human colony, every military base, every exploration mission rushed to join the TU battle. But they were not alone. Commander Rick Bell, leading a mixed crew of humans and aliens aboard the UES Guardian, was the first to report the unexpected arrivals. "Admiral, I have Zephyrian crystal ships dropping out of hyperspace. Wait, there are more contacts. Cedian vessels, reformed Drakari ships, even some Galactic Council forces." Admiral Clark, commanding the humanitarian fleet, contacted Foster directly. "Jack, we have 43 different species sending ships to help us. The mutual defense charter we proposed 6 months ago just became reality. The Battle of Earth's moon became the largest space engagement in galactic history. Over 800 ships from dozens of species fought for the principle that innocent people deserved protection. Human vessels fought alongside former enemies who had decided that humanity's moral example was worth defending. Marine General Kevin Wright led ground forces in the defense of New Geneva Colony. His troops included humans, Zephyrians, reformed, Drakari warriors, and volunteers from a dozen other worlds. When the enemy landed, they faced not just human resistance, but a coalition united by shared values. "General," Lieutenant Beth Murphy reported during the ground battle, "the enemy is retreating. They did not expect to face this many different species fighting together." The space battle reached its climax when Foster led a direct assault on Throg's command ship. The Drakari War Marshal had expected to face only human vessels, but instead found himself surrounded by ships from across the galaxy. "Human Admiral," Throg broadcast on all frequencies, "you have turned the galaxy against its own interests. This alliance will not last." Foster's reply was heard by every ship in the battle. "Marshal, this alliance is not about human interests. It is about the idea that when someone asks for help, someone should actually come. That idea is stronger than any empire." The Alliance command ship was destroyed, and with it the coordinated attack collapsed. Enemy forces throughout the system began surrendering or retreating. The Human Containment Alliance had failed not because humanity was too strong, but because their opponents had grown beyond just humanity. The war's end led to the greatest diplomatic gathering in galactic history. Representatives from over 100 species met on Earth to sign the Mutual Defense Charter. The document established new principles for galactic civilization. No species would face extinction alone, and moral actions would be supported by collective force. Ambassador Shaw stood before the assembled delegates in the newly built Unity Hall. The chamber was designed with input from dozens of species, creating a space where everyone could feel welcome. "Today we sign more than a treaty," Shaw said. "We sign a promise to each other that the strong will protect the weak, that the fortunate will help the desperate, and that no cry for help will go unanswered." The charter was signed by 43 species initially, but within a year, over 100 worlds had joined. The galaxy now had a new organizing principle: Mutual aid instead of mutual exploitation. Admiral Foster, now an old man with gray hair and tired eyes, delivered the closing speech at the signing ceremony. His words became the unofficial motto of the new galactic order. "We did not set out to change the universe," he said. "We just believed that when people are dying, you do not ask if it is your problem. You ask if you can help. That simple idea has transformed us all." The final scene showed communication stations across human space, now staffed by beings from dozens of species. They monitored distress frequencies 24 hours a day, ready to coordinate rescue missions at a moment's notice. Vexmore, now president of the rebuilt Kepler colony, visited Earth for the charter anniversary. He stood in the memorial garden dedicated to all species who had died waiting for help that never came. "You actually came," he said to Foster during the ceremony. "When no one else would, you actually came. And because you came, now everyone comes." Foster smiled, looking up at the sky where ships from 100 worlds patrolled together. That was always the point. Not that humans would save everyone, but that everyone would save everyone. The message was clear throughout the galaxy. In this new age, no species stood alone. When someone begged for help, someone would actually come. And that someone might be anyone, from anywhere, united by the simple belief that helping others was always the right thing to do. The age of abandonment was over. The age of mutual aid had begun.